What's up, guys? Welcome to the Ben's Concrete Creations channel. So we're going to do a walkthrough on this floor and how we transitioned the color from white to black. Let's check it out. Couple things to point out here. We had a pretty good sized crack here, maybe 1/8 of an inch. So this is patched. You can slightly see it, but it's better than having an open floor. And take a walk through, you can see some of our aggregates where we ground down, which in my opinion looks really cool. Got all of our furniture back, all the baseboards back on. There is no stain on the walls, no epoxy on the edges, nothing on the doors, very clean. Almost like magic how this thing transitioned from white to black. We'll show you how to do it. Stay tuned. So we are out here at a new project. This is an Airbnb in Blue Ridge, Georgia. Such a beautiful place. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be removing this white coating that's on this floor. And so we're going to be grinding all this stuff off, rehoning the surface, repairing this crack right here. And then we're going to be dropping some black water-based stain on this floor, top coating with water-based epoxy, and then our final coat will be a water-based urethane. So just to take you guys through a walkthrough, we'll be doing this room in here, this bathroom. So our grinder gets up to about 1/8 of an inch from the walls. So what we're doing is we're removing all the baseboards all the way around, so that way that really cuts back on the amount of hand grinding that we have to do around the edges. So one thing I want to point out that we're doing, we're removing all this trim board or all this baseboard, and if you notice over here, they're all labeled, they're all numbered. So what we do is we pick a spot and we start and we put a piece of tape on there that says 1. The next thing is 2. The next one's 3. You go start from one area, go all the way around, so that way you're not trying to figure out what pieces go where. So Shiloh's removing those now, and we're about ready to start grinding. So one of the things we had to do is get our grinder, vacuum, and then heavy generator down here. And the only way to do that was to come down these steps. So we didn't bring long enough 2x4s to go down those steps, but we did here. So that actually worked out really good. Our grinder comes apart. We laid it down on top of this dolly, and the generator all came right down here. But we did have to bring the generator down through this way. So keep in mind stuff like that. I was not here to look at this job, so I didn't really know the access. But stuff like that is something good to know, and it helps you get your stuff down if you live in an area like us where the terrain is super crazy. Okay, so at this point here, we have made one full pass across this floor. We started with a tooling called wolf claws, and basically this is a coatings removal diamond impregnated metal that goes on the bottom of your planetary grinder, and you can see all the white spots still left. So it was doing a pretty good job, but what we did is we actually switched over to 40 double sag metals, which is a little bit more aggressive, and what it did is it made us cut down a lot further on this floor than we wanted to go. But with that being said, this concrete was actually finished very bad. There was a lot of holes, a lot of dips, a lot of footprints. I mean, it was just not a nice flat slab. So as you can tell, Bub over there is grinding with a hand grinder, and you can see Shiloh's moving very slow, and it's just a slow process trying to get this stuff up on an inconsistent slab. Here is a multi-tool attachment, and this is basically a stud where they ram set into the floor, and they ended up moving the wall, so it left a hole or a divot in the concrete. And that was after taking that multi-tool attachment and trying to get as much of that white stuff out of there as I could, and in preparation to patch that with a patch that we will show you guys. And here I'm basically showing you, this is an attachment that goes on your multi-tool. This is basically the diamond impregnated metals, just like we have on our big grinder, And here's the patch. I put this down. This stuff dries pretty quick, and you can grind it in probably, I'm going to say 3 hours, maybe 2 hours. Here's our patch here that was across the main room. This is not a structural crack. It is a shrinkage crack. They did not saw cut this, but the crack actually did not go all the way through, and there was no movement in the concrete. So in essence, there was no height difference from one side to the other. And after grinding on this slab, we found another little hairline crack that we went ahead and filled in. This is the material right here. It's called Henry's Patch, and it's made by Ardex. It's a feather finish. It's meant to go down thin, but I think you can go up to like a 1/4 inch or maybe even close to a 1/2 inch. I'm not sure. This is after the patch had dried and we ground across it. You can see how nice that filled in all the way flush. If we were going to put a coating down to where you would not see the concrete, in this case you're going to see the concrete because it's a stain, then we would do a completely different method. We would use a rapid set, basically an epoxy patch with sand in it, but you're going to see the concrete.
So I've talked a little bit about tooling. What I wanted to do is dive into this a little bit more and explain how we figure out what type of tooling to use. So this is called a Mohs hardness test, and it basically starts on a scale from 2 and it goes all the way through down to 9. And what that does is, say 2 is equivalent to the softness of, say, sheetrock, and then it goes through different natural materials, and 2 being like, say, sheetrock or drywall, and it goes all the way through different sediments and all the way down to, when you get to 9, is equivalent to granite or quartz. So you use that starting at the low end, and then you work your way up through until it leaves a significant scratch on the floor with, pretty moderate pressure, and it leaves a scratch good enough to where you can catch your thumbnail on it, and that will determine what type of tooling that you need to use to cut through that concrete and be successful. Once again, this is such an important tool to have if you're going to be cutting floors. So if you notice here, orange says soft to very soft concrete, and then it goes up from there. So say if it scratches on the 2, you would be in the orange range. Our floor, after we cut the white off, ended up scratching on like a 7, 8, even a 6 on the edges where it was soft. So we ended up using like golds, I think, and then on some of it we even started using yellows. Basically, this stuff is, the grits are kind of like sandpaper, so it's, the higher the grit, the smoother the finish is. So 80 grit is obviously going to be smoother than a 40 grit. It goes down to 16s, you can get 25s, 40s, 80s, and then at that point you're going to go up into even 120s, or switch up to like 50 resins, which we'll get into. That's not used on a job like this. That's more for polishing. But I just wanted to kind of talk about the tooling and how we figure out what to use and what grit to use. I think it's important to know that if you're going to be cutting concrete and prep for either some kind of coating or stain like we're doing here.
This is our third pass across this floor. I just cut these 2 lines right here. So just to take you up to speed, we used a coatings removal tooling for our grinder right there. And they're called wolf claws. They're made by Sace, and it basically removes coatings or anything aggressive on the floor. And we got, I would say, like 70, maybe 80% of the white off of here with the coatings removal, the wolf claws. And then we switched over to 80s, and it wasn't aggressive enough to get the rest off, so we dropped down to 40 grit, and we passed over the whole floor. And then now we just switch back to 80 grit just to make sure we don't have any scratches or anything in here. So we exposed a lot of the aggregate, but we are going to be going with black. And so we kind of had a wrench thrown in our gears. When you wet this floor, there is a lot of low spots in this floor where this white is. And it's basically all throughout the floor. And it is everywhere, and it doesn't look like it now, but when you put water on there, it's little specks are all over the place. It's once again, it's hard to see. So the plan is that we were gonna grind this and then do a coat or 2 of black water-based stain. So my concern is that with this white down in the pits, that you're either going to see that or it's going to repel our black water-based stain and end up looking like some kind of starry night. Some people may like that. Our client does not want that, so she wants a black floor. So what we're going to do is change gears, and we're going to switch from a water-based stain over to an acetone dye. An acetone dye is nice because it'll stick to almost anything. It'll stick to epoxy, it'll stick to sealer, and so I know that that acetone dye is going to stick to those little white spots and not be as noticeable, hopefully not noticeable at all. But there's only so much you can do with a poorly finished slab like this. I mean, the finishers just did not do a good job. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of high and low spots, and you can see the exposed aggregate here. That's a high spot in the slab. Right next to it, you see no aggregate or very little, and then aggregate, no aggregate, aggregate, no aggregate, aggregate. And typically what that's from is them bull floating this way early and leaving lines with the edge of their bull float, which pushes up and it actually makes high spots in the slab. It's even worse over here. So behind this is a concrete poured wall, and so, you know, typically up against the wall right here, you can see how much aggregate from a high spot is here, and that means they tipped their mag float down and, you know, didn't get a level floor. So our patch turned out good. Our crack filler and that, so there's no movement in this. This is just a shrinkage crack. It should not open, but you can never guarantee that. And as we cut down on this floor some more, we ended up finding some leaf. You can almost see the outline of the leaf that was in there. That ended up coming out. There's another little hairline crack that we patched here. There was a couple more little gouges and stuff that we ended up patching, and I started cutting over that. I patched that maybe like 3 hours ago. So it's pretty hard. I mean, it seems like it's cutting off pretty good and not pulling it out of there. So anyways, yeah, we're back to 80 double segs, and I'm gonna go over this that had 40s on there and make sure we don't have any scratches. All right, we got our second pass going with the mop in that room. First pass in this room right here. We did not mop this yet because this is the entrance in and out, and we had a little bit of stuff that we had to touch up this morning and then re-vacuum it. So first pass with the wet mop on here. Make sure to keep clean water. As soon as you see it turn gray and mucky, go ahead and wash it out. Shiloh and Bub are putting up paper. Now we're using acetone dye on this, which is a quick flashing solvent. So basically as soon as it's dispersed, it atomizes, and then that's it. So it would essentially adhere to plastic. But we were, if y'all remember, the original plan was to do water-based stain, and you don't want to put plastic up because it'll hit the plastic and run and drip off of there. So we had plastic for the job, which is going to work fine. The reason you want to use that with water-based stain or like acid stain, for an example, is because it'll kind of absorb it and not just run down the plastic and drip. So you just want to be careful not to spray the paper too much, obviously. So the guys are masking around here, and we're gonna give this thing a solvent wipe with acetone, and then we'll be ready for some dye. We have already vacuumed and mopped, and our floor is clean other than a solvent wipe. So what we did is we took our ram board up and we cleaned our area. We put new paper down. We vacuumed our doormats, so everything is clean. We do not want to be tracking stuff in and out of this floor when it's clean. So I think that's real important to keep your work area clean. If you notice, we got booties right here that we're going to be putting on. And then I just ordered these on Amazon. I can leave a link down in the description, but these are like 30 bucks and they're for paint spraying. So we're going to be using acetone, a solvent wipe, and then acetone dye, which smells really bad. And we'll let you know how they work. All right, guys, so we've got our floor ground, we've got it clean, we got a solvent wipe, we've got all our masking up, and it's time to put down the acetone dye. So what we got here is called Midnight Black. This is an interior or exterior dye. As you can see over here, we already did our closet, And you always want to try to do your short direction of the room. So say you have a big room and say it's a rectangle, you never want to go the long direction. You always want to try to go the short end and maintain a wet edge if possible. So we're going to get this started. It's really easy to do, and you guys check this out. We'll probably get about half the room done just to show you how it goes. All right. If you notice, I'm always going to start my spray in a bucket. I'm going to spray and I'm going to stop my spray in a bucket just to maintain any drips that may want to come out from starting or stopping. If you notice, Shiloh's carrying this sprayer for us, and when it starts getting low on pressure, you can go ahead and pump it up, which we're good right now. But it's good to have someone, if you can, to help you do that so you don't have to stop spraying. Sometimes that's not always the case, and you just want to fade. If you're by yourself or you're low on help, you just fade your material out kind of to nothing like we did on that closet over there. If you notice how it just kind of it faded out over there, and so it's easier to blend back into. You're just doing figure 8, circular motions. You don't want to do straight lines. You want to make an organic look, and so you move this wand around like you're casting some kind of Harry Potter spell. And it really turns out to be a nice floor. It gives it a model look, and you don't have lines anywhere. And it's more of a natural look, even though black is not natural. It's better than a painted look. So see, if I have some light spots that I don't like, I'll just spray some more out there. And you'll notice that it's lightening up quite a bit, but once we put this epoxy and urethane on there, it will really darken up the floor. I'm going to fade back into this closet here. That blended in nice. Alright guys, we got our black midnight black dye down, and we did 2 coats, and then we did 1 more coat in just several spots, and we were rolling down our water-based epoxy. So funny story here, we opened up our water-based epoxy and it was very coagulated on the bottom, and it wasn't mixing up right. We mixed it and mixed it and mixed it. And so what we did is we tested a little spot in the closet over here. You can kind of see the sheen difference, and it was not turning clear. So something was wrong. So we were scrambling, trying to figure out what to do, and we called Sherwin Williams. You can see the hue difference right here, even though that's still black, and it just was not turning clear. So I was scared to put it down, so we sprayed more black dye over top of that water-based epoxy, and then we got new water-based epoxy and just put it down, and it dried clear like it's supposed to. So man, sometimes this is another thing in this video on this floor about having a plan B, and you've got to know what to look for, and sometimes you got to be able to fly by the seat of your pants and make changes. But the dye turned out really nice. We got this room, we just got it coated with water-based epoxy. You can't really see it but it's white right now, but it dries clear and it'll be glossy, and in the morning we'll come back and put down our urethane. So let me get back to helping these guys, but just wanted to show y'all how we just use chip brushes along the edge and cut it in like Shiloh's doing here. He's cutting it in, and then Bub is going behind him with a 6-inch weenie roller and just rolling it out, and I'm about to get on this 18-inch roller right here and start bringing it together. All right, just a quick video. I just showed you guys us cutting everything in. I'm going to turn this around. The guys are going. We're not going to need a whole lot more, but basically I'm rolling this out. I'm just dipping this in with an 18-inch roller, rolling this out on a diagonal by about a 4 or 5 foot diagonal, and then I'm just crossing it up, and I'm going out and feathering it and picking this up. I'm not going out and stopping and coming back. I'm going out and feathering and lifting it up. So I'm going to keep going. I only have so much time. You can see it starting to turn clear. Everything's looking good. I'm gonna keep rolling. We got one more room after this. We did the bathroom already.
All right, guys, good morning. So we're back. It is day 4 on this basement stain. So just to walk you through what we've done, just kind of a recap. We've ground the concrete. We made several passes trying to get down through that white stuff as much as we could. We realized that our original plan was not going to work by putting down water-based stain. Our concern was that it was going, the white left over in the pitting of the concrete was going to repel that and you would see it. So we changed gears and we switched over to an acetone dye. Concrete was cleaned, mopped, and then acetone solvent wiped it, and then we acetone dyed it, and we did 2 coats, and then I went back over on a 3rd coat and just hit some lighter spots. So you guys can see the floor turned out pretty dark, which is what our client wanted. She wanted a black floor. If you notice here, some of these scuff marks, or even these spots from us standing too long in one spot, the water-based epoxy that we put down is still in the recoat window. So what we want to do is try to hit that recoat window to where we don't have to sand this, right? So it's tack free, but if you stand in one spot for too long, it does want to start sticking to your feet, and that's good. That means that our water-based urethane is going to adhere to that.
Keep a wet edge.
Yes.
Wet edge.
Go ahead and get in front of your little thing there, yeah. All right, Bob, go
Yep.
down past him. So when I put down a top coat like a urethane and a lot of different top coats, what you want to do is when you get material on your roller, I'm going to roll a lot of it off. But what I like to do is I like to run it on a diagonal so I get the meat of the material across the entire surface that I'm about to roll back and forth. Now if I just went straight, all the heavy material will be on this side. Now I have material as I work straight back and forth at 45 that evens it out. So that's a good, and a lot of recommendations, or a lot of manufacturers recommend that anyways. But see, now I have material that goes across the 4, 5, or 6 foot area that I can roll in and make even. Instead of just putting it down in a straight line, it's going to be heavier on the left than it would my right side. So I'm just going to roll this stuff out. And what I like to do personally is just roll the edges of my roller and get all that excess off of there before I do my final pass. I just roll it in. And then now I'm going to start feathering this in. We're putting a little bit of pressure to my right and go out and lift up. Roll this one more time. Final pass. Go out and lift up. And that's pretty much how you put a top coat on. All right, guys, so that's a wrap on our floor. Brittany's gonna take you for a tour and let you see the finished product after you've seen all the steps. So you should be able to do a floor just like this. All right, guys, so to bring this video to a conclusion, we just want to point out something that's really important to us personally and also our clients is how clean we leave our workspace. So I just want to point out the door thresholds, the doors, all of this, which we had to bring all the furniture and everything out. Everything has been wiped down, dusted down. There's no debris. It is literally like we were never here. Everything is left super clean, even all the way up to how we got in and out of here. If you guys remember, we had our ramps going up here. We had a hard time getting that huge generator back up the hill, but just look how clean everything is. All the rocks are gone, any mud, everything is wiped down really nice.
to me and our company personally, this is the icing on the cake. This is the final part that will really help you sell future jobs. So good luck in your next endeavors.
All right, we're back here at our stain job. We're gonna be putting the furniture and bed and everything back. We walked down here to the lake. It is frozen. These guys are gonna have a challenge here. Let's see what they can do. All right, fellas.
All right, on three. 1, 2, 3.
You made it. Somebody, who made it?
That would be me. No.
Aaron made it.
I made mine too, right?
Nice. That's a crazy sound though.
Oh,